And I know that Lisa had a great soundbite that I don't think quite made the air, where she was telling me, well, everyone wants the perfect little baby, healthy, happy, blonde, blue-eyed, you know, but unfortunately, that isn't realistic in the foster system. These kids have been bounced around. These kids have seen some things nobody on this earth should see. Yet they're good kids. They just want to be loved. Ron, I want people to realize, okay, these aren't going to be maybe your kid next door. They're going to take maybe a little extra time, but they're worth it, because I think that's one thing people think is these kids are going to steal from me. These kids are going to hurt my own kids. I think it's a very realistic fear.
I think those are realistic fears, and these kids will not succeed. They will not succeed. They will end up dead, homeless, or in jail unless an adult somewhere, somehow, steps up and says, I'm going to make a difference in the life of a child. They are in foster care because they are coming from a situation that is absolutely unacceptable. They have not had the love and support. They have not had the guidance. They have not had the care that you and I have provided to our children. And when you live like that, that's what you learn to expect. And they're not going to change, and they're not going to value education, and they're not going to grow up to be the kind of children, the kind of adults that we want our children to be, unless the folks that are out there watching today stand up and say, I want to make the difference in the life of a child. Without them, the kinds of outcomes that you've heard about pregnancy, about homelessness, about incarceration, about actual folks dying, that's the life that they're going to have. We got to make a difference, and we can make a difference. I remember when I first got into this business, I spent a long time in the Army. I didn't know anything about abuse and neglect. I come to Florida, and I start working in the child welfare field, and I was stunned. I was amazed. I did not know that the children in our communities were in this bad a shape. And my first mentor, I'll never forget this, invited me over to her home one night for dinner, and at her home, at dinner with us, and was her foster parents. She was a foster child.
Wow.
And so that, and I looked at her and I said, now I understand. Now I understand your passion for this work and why you do it. And she will tell you, I would not be here today if it were not for these people. Without their help and love and support, I would not be where I am today in my career and my profession. And so you do make a tremendous difference for these kids.
And if for no other reason, if people want to look at this selfishly, the statistics you went through in the beginning of the show, but I also read 81% of prisoners incarcerated across the country had some history of foster care somewhere in the system in their lives.
Right.
Because they are the lost souls. Yet the difference that Place of Hope make, I watched it myself. Amazing straightening out of the path, so to speak, where all of a sudden they felt wanted and needed.
The best times that we have, whether it's here in Palm Beach or whether I'm back home in Daytona running my lead agency up there, the best times that we have are when young adults walk back into our office and want to see their former caseworker or want to see somebody in the organization who touched their lives, just to say, hey, thank you, and because of you, I'm doing really well. I mean, those are the events that bring us back. Those events don't happen without good quality foster parents, without good programs like Place of Hope, Kids in Distress. They don't happen. We can make that kind of difference in the lives of the children that we have in the child welfare system.
And I do believe that. Hala, what I want to ask you is, I take a kid in and it's not working. Am I stuck?
Well, first of all, we'd put people in to try to make it work, because every time you move a child, it's like a little death for the child. So we would put a therapist in, we would send out a support worker more often, we would offer you respite. We wouldn't throw in the towel. If it's just a personality issue, that can be worked through. If the child is a dangerous child, let's say he's doing something very dangerous like setting fires, then we do have recourse. Then we would ask the child be removed from your home and put in a different, more secure environment. But it's a very rare thing. We really don't like to disrupt placements. We believe that once you become a foster parent, your life will never be the same. And it will never be the same in a positive way, not a negative way.
They don't mean that in the bad way.
Right.
Let's not scare
Right.
people.
But we would never do anything to harm your own children or your own family. And we stick by that, and Kids in Distress will be there with you, even if it means sitting up with you all night if the child is dangerous. One of us will do that, and we have done that.
And at the same time, you know, you're not trying to just, and Ron, I know I read about this, you know, kind of shelve these kids, you know, get them out of the shelter because all look better. The numbers will look better. You know, the shell game with children. I have wondered if that's what's going on.
All right, it's not about that at all. You know, there are two words that we're using here. It's foster and parent. I like to emphasize the word parent. When you stand up and say, I want to be a foster parent, what you're really saying is, I want to be the parent for a child who needs a parent. And invite that child into your home and do for that child exactly what you do for your biological child. Instill values, provide love and caring and support.
Boundaries.
Rules,
You know,
limits.
I know that from the day I can remember, my parents talked to me about the value of education. You know, that education conversation has to happen in every foster home across Florida and across Palm Beach County, because it didn't happen where they came from. They are missing that kind of love and support and have never experienced it. And so, yes, when children come that first night, imagine being 10 years old and removed from everything that you know and show up at a stranger's doorstep. I mean, that's a scary proposition for a 10-year-old.
For any year-old. Let's just say that, for any year-old.
But when that foster parent brings them in and shows the love and support and is there for them and understands that, you know, the behavior might not be exactly what I need today, works through that short period of time, that's when the blessings start happening.
And I think that's when the so-called click, you know, between the child and the family can happen.